All right, welcome to this week's edition of Military Trailblazer Office Hours. Thanks for taking time out of your Wednesday evening to spend it here with us in the spirit of community, mentorship, and learning. I'm your host for today, Geralyn Hall. I'm a technical account manager here at Salesforce and a military trailblazer. Each week, we invite a co-host or co-hosts to take part in this conversation so that we can leverage their experience, expertise, and unique perspectives. The focus for tonight's session is one that's near and dear to me as a technical account manager. It's the hottest jobs right now in the Salesforce ecosystem, customer success professionals. So if you have ever wanted to explore customer success career paths and employment opportunities, this is definitely the session for you. So I'd like to take a minute just to go ahead and welcome and briefly introduce our co-host panel for tonight's session. We may have some that are joining a little bit later, but I will go ahead and introduce all of them, starting with Elio, Camey, Tapas, Easwar, Charles Fosbroke, Earl, LaChance, Brandon Nivens, Jenny Pigott, and Alcione Sturmer. So Elio is a manager of Salesforce at Hilton. He's a Marine Corps veteran, a military trailblazer, Merivis mentor, and Salesforce alumni. He has 19 years of Salesforce experience and a 25-year career, which encompasses engineering, program management, consulting, and customer success. Tapas is a talent advisor at Salesforce. He has over 7 years of experience in the retail, nonprofit, and technology fields. 3 of those have been here at Salesforce, and works closely with business leaders as a trusted partner to design and deliver strategic people-centric programs and handle talent relation matters. Charles is a fellow technical account manager at Salesforce. He is a 25-year veteran of the Massachusetts Army National Guard, and cue the confetti, he will be celebrating his 1-year anniversary at Salesforce next month. Congratulations, Charles. He has a previous role as a Salesforce administrator, program manager, and consultant, as well as mentoring with Merivis, American Corporate Partners, and Veterati. Earl is a director of customer success at Salesforce. He helped lead the initial 3-year Salesforce implementation at USAA, partnering with a team of former Marine Corps, Navy, and Air Force men and women. His experience encompasses 16 years in the Salesforce ecosystem and over 20 years overseeing the delivery of CRM projects in Latin America, the US, and Canada. Brandon is a senior technical account manager at MuleSoft. He served in the Navy for 4 years, gaining expertise in HR, made a brief foray into politics, and has spent the past 9 years working in customer success and consulting roles, perfecting his customer-facing skills. Jenny is a senior recruiter for the customer success group here at Salesforce. She's been in the talent development and recruiting space for nearly 8 years, notably with IBM for 3.5 years, and is coming up on her 3-year anniversary at Salesforce. Congratulations, Jenny. And Alcione is a regional vice president of success management at Salesforce. After serving in the Brazilian Army, he transitioned to the world of tech, where he's held various manager, director, and vice president positions spanning over 22 years. Alcione has been with Salesforce for the past 8 years. It is so great to have you all co-hosting office hours with me. What a rock star panel. Welcome to everyone. So at this point, we typically invite our co-hosts to share their professional journeys. Instead, we'll be touching on them throughout tonight's session since we have so many guest panelists today to ensure that we have time for everyone's questions. So for those that are joining for the first time, I always like to briefly explain the purpose of these office hours before we open the floor for questions and discussion. These sessions are a formal get-together for gathering with military trailblazers and allies to explore non-technical Salesforce career and branding related topics to help you achieve your professional development and career related goals. The next hour is intended to be an opportunity for collaborative mentorship. Everyone on this call is encouraged to step up and help answer questions from your perspective. This will provide additional diversity of experience to the answers given. Please make sure to keep an eye on the chat window during tonight's session. Myself and others on this call will share a lot of great information there, including learning, networking, and employment opportunities. If you'd like to ask a question at any point during today's session, please feel free to do so. If you don't feel as comfortable speaking up, you can also post your questions in the chat. I'll do my best to monitor, and Dave Nava on here is also going to help me with that. We'll be monitoring the chat window and also be looking for raised hands. Finally, just want to note that tonight's session is being recorded. If you'd like to share an attribution-free comment, please let me know before speaking, and I'll make sure it's edited out of the final recording. So that was a lot of information to go over. So excited to have this panel. So we'll just go ahead and we'll dive right in. So to provide a little bit of context for tonight's discussion, I'd like to start by exploring each of your roles, how it relates to enabling customer engagement, adoption, and ultimately success, and what your day-to-day looks like. Could each of you briefly describe your role and what your key responsibilities are? And really anyone can start, so don't be shy.
I'll go ahead and jump in. So I'm a technical account manager for the public sector at Salesforce. So we deal with a lot of the government, local, county, state, federal government customers, military customers. My role kind of is a jack of all trades. We work with customer success, with success managers. We do a lot of case oversight. We work with the customers, become an extension of our customers team, really getting to know their business, getting to know everything we can about their business and how every little decision or every little incident affects them and how we can work to resolve them as quickly as possible. As I said, we do a lot of case oversight. We also do a lot of key event management. So peak season type things, think retail industry, Black Friday, that type of thing. We do a lot of increased capacity and monitoring of their systems to make sure that they are good to go through their peak season and they don't have any outages. We also do a lot with release readiness. Release readiness, as you know, there's 3 releases a year, and we help provide our customers with more detailed, drilled down release, slides and information so that they don't necessarily have to go, read through 600 pages of release notes, and everything's tailored to them to help them with their unique situations and their unique orgs. There's a lot of other things we do, but we really work together with the customer, with customer success, with support to make sure that their orgs are optimized, their adoption is high, and they're as successful as they can be with Salesforce.
Awesome. Earl, you want to go ahead?
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Sure, coming through.
Yep.
Well, good evening. My name is Earl, LaChance. As mentioned, so I'm a customer success director here at Salesforce. I've been here just about 8 years, and our sole reason for being is return on investment. So for us, it's about showing ROI. And one way, most of our group back in the day came from consulting firms. With my background, Geralyn gave us this nice overview of our backgrounds. I spent 25 years implementing Salesforce and CRM systems, PeopleSoft and Siebel for the old timers that remember all those things. So a lot of us came from there because what we do as a success manager side is we're often working with the VP and C level to talk about their business priorities, how that matches to the Salesforce functionality, make that value map or that success path for them in order for them to get the most return on the investment that they made. So we want to make sure that they're using all that they bought, they have high adoption, and of course, it's not just making them log in. We want to make sure they're seeing value. And what happens when they see the value? They renew. So in a certain way, kind of a circuitous route, we get paid on renewals where sales gets paid on sales, of course, right? So we want to make sure the customer is seeing that financial return on investment. Therefore, they renew, and we maintain those relationships. And that's why we love the TAMs. So I'm pointing over here at Charles, where his picture is on my screen, because partnering with them, think about customers being happy with the product and having high adoption, and the customers also, having a working system. The TAMs are critical to make sure that the system's up and running, to make sure that there's technical health. And so that's why the TAMs and the SMs are locked at the hip as post-sales resources. So it's a great job, a lot of relationship building. There's a lot of business consulting aspect to the SM side of the coin. So I'll be here for any questions after. Geralyn, back to you.
Thanks, Earl. Anyone else? Elio, Jenny, I'm looking at you.
I always talk, so I'm waiting for other folks to jump in before I go. I'll take the whole hour.
But we like Elio. Come on, man. Vámonos.
Sure.
All
Okay.
right.
So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm sure I see a lot of familiar faces on the call. I spent the last 10 years at Salesforce in customer success role. Prior to that, I spent from 2004 to 2013 implementing Salesforce. So today I am at Hilton, and last week I got a chance to meet my signature customer success folks from Salesforce. So now I'm back in the other side of the fence, and I love it because I know the value of the team and what they can do for us at Hilton. So it's a great partnership. And of course, a lot of humility to know that you're not alone and you can rely on other folks, specifically at Salesforce, that can help not only your organization achieve, but also for you to grow your career, right? There's a lot of synergies in having good vendor relationships, and it's a ton of fun. The resources from Salesforce, a couple of them are seasoned and a couple of them are not. They're brand new, so I feel like I gotta coach, put my coaching head on, and help some of these guys to be successful at their role. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is for us at Hilton to be successful with the investment of Salesforce, and that requires a lot of not just the process understanding, but also how do we leverage the technology instead of getting caught up with, oh, look at this new shiny toy over here. It's and I've been very fortunate to be in the role that I am, that I'm able to partner with the team to highlight how we can take the most out of Salesforce. I feel like at Hilton, there's an opportunity for the team to grow with the technology. They just haven't had a shepherd to show them what's there. So I'm excited. It's a great opportunity, and it's great that I still stay connected with Salesforce in that I partner with them aside from these Wednesday night calls. And yeah, it's for those of you that are looking at a career in tech, specifically in Salesforce, you don't just have an individual sales or a technical role. There's so much in between where you can use different skills. It's like having a toolbox, and it's like, okay, what skill am I going to use today? Which one? Are you going to use multiple, or are you going to focus on one area or another? There's a lot. There's quite a lot of what we did in the military for those of us that were prior service people that we bring to the table of adapting to the environment. And if you're able to think outside the box in that regard, how do I solve this? How do I look at a problem from different angles? You're in a great place, because you'll learn through these engagements here, through these calls, how you're able to leverage the strengths that you bring, and you'll focus on closing those gaps that, in getting to know the technology in all of these different roles. I still stay connected, by the way, for a lot of the folks that are here, like Earl. I think we interact probably every other day on LinkedIn. So great to see folks here. It's an awesome community, and I'm so glad to see so many other folks that are here for the first time. And with that, I'll pass it over to Jenny.
Sure.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Elio.
Awesome. Yeah, so I have been recruiting for Salesforce the last 3 years, but even before that, I was in IBM's Salesforce practice recruiting there. So I've been in the ecosystem for a while, more on the implementation side. So I mainly recruit for services. So recruiting for individuals who are the consultants who are implementing Salesforce for our customers, and also for the individuals who sell those services to our customers as well. So always looking for individuals who have that really consultative mindset, who really enjoy working directly with customers, understanding what is the underlying pain point, how can Salesforce help them achieve that goal, alleviate that issue, and move them forward in their digital transformation journey. So always recruiting for more of those services sales folks, but also more consultative like mindset individuals too. So happy to connect with anyone after this call too.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. And Tapas, did you want to speak a little bit about your role as a talent advisor in the customer success group?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. I'm based out of Toronto, Canada, and I came to Salesforce through an acquisition. I've been here for about 3 years now. I currently support our success and support organizations within Salesforce, so the technical account manager area, specifically for Marketing Cloud and Data Cloud. I'm going to echo a lot of what Charles said, a lot of what Jenny said, a lot of what Elio said. Really, in the TAM world, we're looking for folks that do have that deep the technical acumen, right? Really the translation layer between the client and our internal, product engineers. But beyond that, we're looking at that kind of through that consultative lens, really being able to speak to both audiences and more importantly, a wide array of audiences, especially your customer or client's executive audience, because often who you're going to be interfacing with, right? So again, a lot of what Jenny said, a lot of what Charles said, a lot of what Elio says, that really, and Earl as well, applies directly to the roles that I work on. So if you've got an interest in that, if you've got some experience in the Marketing Cloud, Data Cloud space, hit me up. I'd love to have a chat with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tapas. So I'd love to hear a little bit as you all were going through on how you kind of interact with other job roles. So let's dig into that just a little bit more. So we do have quite a broad range of roles represented here tonight. How do you work together to help customers take full advantage of Salesforce at their organizations, including how do you collaborate with other teams and what other teams do you collaborate with on a day-to-day or weekly basis? Charles, go ahead.
So I kind of alluded to it earlier. There's a lot of internal communication, a lot of Slack, but I communicate with the account team on a pretty consistent basis. And that's the account executive. Sometimes there's a solution engineer that needs to be brought in for something. I work really closely with support for cases. Support is key to helping resolve customer issues, helping things run more smoothly. There's a lot of different areas. I work with the account with the success managers a ton on most of my accounts. So having that collaboration between the different groups, and whether that's a meeting, whether it's spinning up a quick huddle to ask a question about some particular aspect a customer wants to know a way to fix something, and maybe that's bringing in a solution engineer, maybe it's bringing in an SM, maybe it's bringing in support. But there's a lot of collaboration within Salesforce to kind of have that one Salesforce to help the customer.
Awesome. Thanks, Charles. Elio, do you have something to add to that?
Yes, and it's something that my manager said the other day that I think really would resonate with everybody here, and that is our account manager from Salesforce really understands the Hilton business. And the comment my manager made the other day, he said, any vendor can try to sell you your product. They know they have product technical resources, but our account manager really understands and values and knows the intricacies of our business. And to me, that just resonates with everything that we learn about client engagement in this field. Is being active listener, knowing how to do your research about an industry, knowing how to understand what are the pain points that a client may be having. Like Charles just mentioned, there's a lot, and I'm sure Earl remembers some of the calls that we had when I was at Salesforce. But to be able to hear that in the real world, really, that's the impact that we have after we do all of the collaboration and try to understand how to help clients. This is not an industry where you just, hey, I have a shiny new toy. I've been lucky in my career to manage vendors, and those vendors that know my business, my industry, my challenges, and are looking to provide a solution. That's who I want to work with, over the folks who come in and go, hey, I have this great new shiny object. but they don't know anything about my business. So in the world that we live today, that we're moving fast with AI and things are instant, you really have to take a step back and understand the industry, what are the challenges of a client. And to me, Salesforce and the team here, they do such a good job. You know, here I am at a new company 3 months in at Hilton, and to have that comment about our account exec, right? That our account exec director, right? This is somebody who is in sales and his focus is on sales, but to make an impact on a leader that I report to about how much he cares and understands our business, I think it speaks volumes to going beyond just trying to position your product for this new feature, but really getting to know the person across the table. And so to me, I wanted to share that because I was prior, you know, in Charles and in Earl's spot in trying to, you know, connect with clients. And it's very important because now I'm back in the other side of the fence and I hear it, and it's just reassuring and rewarding to know that everything that you work for, it builds up, right? You build trust. And that's something that I love about this industry, is that you can really make a difference in different ways. Of course, like Tapas mentioned, right? He's looking for technical resources that know how to interact with folks. And that's what that means.
Thank you, Elio. Very well said. Before I get to my next question, just want to open it up, Earl, Jenny, or Tapas, if you had anything you wanted to add.
So the question, Geralyn, was more about the interaction between the team. Was the original? I know we went off on a few great tangents. So what was the original frame?
Yeah, so the original question is, how do you interact with other teams, maybe outside customer success, to ensure that our customers are successful, right, with the full Salesforce 360? So what other teams do you interact with,
right,
and what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I don't think it's a dirty secret in this realm of technology. I think you were at IBM, Oracle, I was at Deloitte. There's usually a very big difference in the way people operate between sales, the CSG, a customer success group, technical account managers, and professional services and tech support, right? So those are like all the major groups. Of course, you have the engineering group that builds everything. One thing that, you know, for the military men and women, when I was mentioned USAA, and I basically reported to an E5 for the Marine Corps, and it was the best project I've ever been on. So disciplined and well thought out and planned. And that's something that in our role here in CSG, I'm speaking to, in success management, we have the opportunity to bring that same structure. Okay, so things that I learned along the way, and I spent 3 years of my own military experience there, is that discipline, that structure. And I think that everyone here on the call, if you come from that background, you would absolutely love this post-sales role, because you have the ability to bring that discipline, bring that structure. And that's what Salesforce gives you, is that they give you a bit of a leash, right? You're going to have your clients, your customers that you're going to work with, and you're going to be said, all right, you have certain goals. How are you going to go about it? I'm going to do it slightly differently than Elio would do it. Okay, I'm going to do it slightly different. I'm going to convince Charles, say, hey, Charles, I saw this at one of the cruise lines here in Miami. We did this. What do you think? Then Charles and I'll get together, and then we'll put together a roadmap or put together a few slides and execute on that. And that's, you know, this is one of the reasons I love participating. And David and I met a few years ago, and I try to participate because working with military men and women and their families or spouses who have also probably had to deal with all that discipline that their spouse has brought home with them, it is an excellent experience. And it's good for those folks that have that mindset, that have that training, because you will have that ability to set that discipline, set that structure. So I definitely wanted to throw that in there about the ability to control your destiny to a certain degree in a post-sales role at Salesforce.
Awesome. Thank you, Earl. So I really liked where you went with that, Earl. So we're going to go down that same thread. And what are some resources, tools, tips that you all could share with those that are interested in customer success roles and want to begin preparing? What are maybe some of those skill sets, like Earl, you had touched on, for those that are transitioning out of the military or those military spouses in the group that maybe they have innately and they just don't know that those could be really used toward a successful career in customer success roles.
Did you want me to jump right back in?
You can, absolutely. It is open
Well,
floor, so anyone who wants to take that.
I don't know, Elio, I saw you jump at it. Why don't you go ahead?
Sorry, I was on mute. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, absolutely, Elio. So my question was along the lines of what Earl was speaking to earlier. So there were some skill sets that he had mentioned that really the military community has that help set them up for success in customer success roles. So are there other resources, tools, tips, or skills that you see that are pretty common among our military community that will help make them successful in customer success roles?
I think the biggest one, and I talk this to a lot of folks that reach out for mentorship, is you have to rely on your strengths, your soft skills, especially in the Corps. I'm a Marine Corps vet. As Earl mentioned, there was a lot of discipline, but there's a lot of understanding that, especially in tech. I've been in tech for a lot longer than I was in the military, and that's just having an understanding that things are not black and white. Projects will not always succeed 100%. Maybe you'll have 80% success rates. And so being able to adapt to that mentality of, hey, we accomplished 80% of that project. What did we learn from that project? And that's something we learned in the military, and put it in our back pocket. So we try to get in front of it. Obviously there's a million videos and books, and I have some books that I've read that I share on one-on-one on people to reference. But I think a lot of that, if you want to build it, is really you need to connect with folks on a one-on-one and just to try to understand, like Earl mentioned, just in CSG alone, you might have directors like him that have a certain set of accounts, and each one will take a different take on how do they engage their clients from a personal engagement level, but they have a set of skill that they picked up. Trailhead does a really good job of having soft skill trails. I actually was showing somebody the other day, they thought Trailhead was just for technical Salesforce knowledge. And we went into the public speaking trail and they were like, what? There is a trail about knowing how to engage, how to connect with your manager, how to understand what a team lead does, right? Measuring KPIs, making sure that the team is working at a certain level. It's not just the individual, but as a whole, how are we working? These things are very important for your success, into what Earl mentioned. And so look at Trailhead. For those of you that have never gone on that, I love showing people who have never gone into Trailhead to learn that it's not just technical knowledge. Do I have to become an admin? No. I was showing a 20+ year veteran a few months ago that, some of the stuff that they learn in the service also applies in the private sector. And I love the Trailhead because it puts the nomenclature that's the missing part. How do I speak this private sector lingo? Trailhead does a really good job. So to answer the question, there are tools like Trailhead. I've been using Trailhead my entire career since it launched in 2014, and I love it. I mean, you can see I'm all Trailhead out today because it's not just about getting a certification, but it's about evolving your skills, your interpersonal skills in a customer-facing environment. At Hilton, yes, I am the manager of Salesforce, but I engage multiple businesses, procurement, processing, sales. They could care less about Salesforce if it's not helping them meet their goals. So I, the technology guy, I have to know how to engage these teams and understand what are their pain points so they can see the value of the technology that they're using to manage their business. So Trailhead it's a big one for me. Obviously, there's a couple of books that I've read that I would share on a one-on-one, Actually, I have a call tomorrow and Friday with some of the folks that I met through the Wednesday calls. But yeah, I think those are pretty good.
Awesome. Thank you, Elio. So Tapas, will go to you next, and then we'll take a short, and then Charles, and then we'll take a short break to take our group photo, and then we'll get to your question after that, Larry. Go ahead, Tapas.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. And Ellie, you brought something up which I thought was interesting, and this is kind of related to Geralyn, your initial question. You talked about soft skills. I think what's important is to reframe communication skills from being soft, quote unquote, to being core or essential skills. They're just as important as the technical acumen, right? Because that's how you communicate your technical knowledge and your know-how to people that do and don't have that understanding. So I think also to Elio's point is that Trailhead is not just for building up your own technical understanding of Salesforce and its various product suites, but there are a bunch of trails and modules and guides in there on how to present, not just to people at the same level as you, but also presenting up to that executive audience, which again is a really key and critical aspect of the technical account manager role that I work on. So I just want to drop that in there. And Charles, over to you.
So I'll kind of add up to that too. So going along with communication, active listening, being able to listen and understand and really process your customer is absolutely critical. In addition to that, that collaboration, that going back and forth, and not to throw anything on the Marines, but the Army, we always went that extra mile to make sure that the mission got completed. There was no 80%, it was 100%, never fail. So that this job brings that too, because you never want to fail your customers. So you want to go that extra mile to do what you can to help them. Sorry, Elio.
All in fun, right? Love that. Love that. Charles, going that extra mile. I know for some people, I know me personally, that can at times be emotionally taxing. I think I've spoken to some people on this call about that, right? Because we always want to make things perfect and go that 100%. But I think the end result for our customers, as Elio's saying now, being on the flip side, is just a wonderful experience. So thank you all for sharing. We'll go ahead. We're at the midpoint, pretty close, 3 minutes. I'll give myself a 3-minute grace period of our session. So before I forget, let's go ahead and get a group photo for sharing on social media. This is important because we always need to be branding. I'll plan on posting on LinkedIn and Twitter tomorrow, and we'll tag everyone in the photo. If you only have your first name showing in Google Meet, and you want to be tagged, please feel free to include your full name in the chat window. It makes it much easier to be able to tag you. I'll give everyone a few seconds to be able to do that because when we take the video, we just ask that everybody stop messaging for that second so nobody's face gets covered up with those messages. So if you would like to participate in the photo, please go ahead, unmute your video. I'll get everything set up to get a screenshot together of everyone. We'll give everyone just a second. And another quick reminder, just pause those comments if you have any coming. You can put them in after. Okay, so I will give everyone a countdown. 3, 2, 1. All right. Oh, maybe we'll take one more. I think somebody was maybe doing their hair. So let's try one more real fast. Ready? 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and jump right back into the questions. So I know that we had a question around certifications from Larry. So are there any certifications that you would say are required or that would be really encouraged for individuals wanting to step into one of these customer success roles? Okay, Elio, I think you were first, then we'll go to Tapas.
Yeah, obviously there's on job postings, you'll see certs. It's 2023. Certs have been out now for a decade. So yes, they're very important. I will add this one comment. I joined Salesforce without a single cert. And this is prior to Trailhead. So You can if you know the role and if you can talk about the technology and validate your work, then yeah, you can probably do okay. That was 10 years ago. I would think now the competition, right? Everybody knows Salesforce. If you're applying for a top company, any of the slaloms of the world or IBM or Salesforce itself, just know that you are going to compete against a lot of people that want to also get into these top companies with all the high pay and benefits. So think about it that from that perspective, right? How are you differentiating yourself from another candidate? Having certifications aside from education and experience demonstrates a lot to that recruiter. You don't have to have a ton. I think having a few, specifically if I'm applying for a TAM that it's either data cloud or let's say service cloud, and I have the service consultant and an admin, I think that demonstrates to that recruiter that I care enough to get the right education in that aspect, in that part of the cloud. I don't know if you're required a ton unless you're going for a deep CTA type of role. I have 9 certifications now, and it took a while to get through all those, but I now see, being back out in the field, I'm applying a lot of what I learn in that. So it's not just having the certs, but being able to demonstrate the technical knowledge. That's, I think, very important. So long story short, I think they're a critical path if you want to go after a high paying job in the field. Some smaller partners that have maybe 50, 70 people might not have that as a high priority. But if you're looking at a top company, it's just like anything else, right? At Salesforce, when and Charles, you probably remember this. I used to tell you, man, I don't know if I could get hired at Salesforce now because there was all these folks from Cornell and MIT, right? Once you become the hot company, everybody wants to apply. So just think about how you're going to present yourself to that recruiter. If certs are listed anywhere, then that's probably something you need to consider to get. Now, will it be a deal breaker? It all depends. If you get in front of that recruiter and you're able to tell your story, that's a whole different level. But to get in front of recruiters now, and I'm sure Tapas is probably going to cover this, they have to meet a certain minimum requirement. And if they don't, you could probably elaborate on what happens.
Awesome. Thanks, Elio. Tapas?
Yeah, thanks, Elio and Geralyn. To kind of piggyback off of that a little bit, this is going to be its certifications are really important because they do demonstrate that you have that kind of educational background behind, some of your actual hands-on experience. This is a bit of a controversial statement, but certifications by themselves aren't everything. Right, you do need that professional background, and that can be something small from freelancing to start out to small pro bono projects to actually getting your foot in the door with a service integrator and getting that actual hands-on experience, right? But I think if you do see certifications listed, right, it's probably a good bet that that's going to be a requirement of the position, right? And if you don't, and you do have certifications, that's a huge plus. One of the things that I would recommend, though, is as you kind of think about the kind of success or support career you want to embark, which kind of career path you want to go down, which product segment that you want to be kind of focused on or specializing in, you want to look at those certifications first and foremost, because those are what's going to set you up for success. If you're coming in and looking at a marketing cloud job posting, but you've only got sales and service cloud, sure, some of it might be transferable. But that educational background of understanding marketing cloud and how it's vastly different from any of the other products and all the little technical nuances, that's going to be important. And that's one of the first things that, Jenny and I as recruiters would be looking at is, oh, okay, cool. They understand, at least from an educational perspective. Now let's talk to them and see, do they have the actual hands-on work experience to kind of back that up a little bit. Jenny.
Yeah, agreed with everything you said. I think the only thing I would add to it too is that even just showing that you have a Trailhead account, that you're working towards a certification will go a long way. And that also you've done the research to understand what certifications would be helpful and that you're working towards that. Super helpful. So even putting on your resume too, that like, I have a Trailhead account or I have this many points in Trailhead, like I love to see that. And then I guess, I guess they're, like Tapas said, like I said, they're not everything, but just showing initiative and also showing too that you understand customer success group and you understand like what that team is within Salesforce also goes a long way.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. Brandon, welcome. I know we didn't get to introduce you earlier. You could take a few minutes if you would like to answer and then answer the question for certifications. Oh,
We see you, but we can't hear you.
yeah.
And folks, that's why I have a wired mic and a wire headset. People always ask me, oh, you have a fancy mic. No, it's just a wired. We can't hear you, Brandon.
Still can't.
Well, while Brandon's trying to figure it out,
Sorry.
Oh, you back, Brandon?
Oh, we got you. Oh, perfect.
There you
I
are.
just changed
Good.
my microphone again. Awesome. On that same notion, hey everyone, I'm Brandon Nivens. I am very late. World tour. It was fun in Atlanta. If you have a world tour coming towards you, I highly recommend you go. That's my last spiel. On that same notion, sorry, since everyone's talking about certifications, I'm literally I'm in certification purgatory right now. It is great. I love it. But on that same notion as well, Tapas is right. Certifications are amazing to have. And I will say you definitely need to probably get them. Also on that same notion, because I'm a TAM on the MuleSoft side, having just that passion and that hunger to learn is also really, really key. I was a CSM previously at other companies, but when Salesforce called me and asked, hey, do you want to work at MuleSoft? I knew what MuleSoft was, and I'm pretty honest, so I'm sorry if this is not kosher, but I always tell folks, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I can figure it out, and I will have a smile on my face while doing it. Believe it or not, that sort of carried me through because I let my personality shine, and I kept telling folks, I am not the smartest person on MuleSoft. Do I know what it does? Yes. Do I like the product? Yes. Do I like Salesforce? Of course. That should be good enough, right? It's not, but it's definitely pretty much you have to have the professional background and also have the professional hunger. That's another way that I can put it. Just most everyone on here is a veteran as well. Just have that hunger to show, hey, I want to do this. And I might not be the right person at this moment, but this ain't gonna be the last interview that you see me in, and it probably won't be the last time you talk to me. I don't want to say I stalked, but I found a lot of people at Salesforce, one of my previous roles, and I just kept hopefully wishing that something happened, and magically, with a lot of prayer, it did. So it's very possible, even without the certifications. I'm not going to say they're not important because they are, but you can definitely get a career here without being, certified 15 times like some people on the call, but definitely still get those certifications because they're valuable. That's all I wanted to put out there for right now.
Dave Nava.
Brandon's awesome.
Yeah.
I got to work with him. He's definitely passionate, as you all can see. So I'm going to go differ a little bit from everyone. I say get your administration, get the admin cert first. Back in the day, I'm not in recruiting or HR, so you guys tell the thing. But if I were talking to someone on the side, I would say get your admin cert stat, but before you apply. And I mean, this is for Slalom, for Deloitte, for a consulting firm, to work at Norwegian Cruise Lines. Get that admin. It's the first step in the certification ladder. And some people say, well, Earl, I don't want to do technical. I don't want to be an administrator. I go, no. Don't worry about, it's not about you being an administrator. It shows you know the platform. It shows you know the basics of how Salesforce works. And so that piece of advice that I've given out has worked. I know that Jenny and Tapas have mentioned, and people can make it in without them. But if you're my buddy or my friend and I'm trying to help you get in anywhere, I'm like, just get the admin cert at least. That's a place to start with. So I'm just kind of doing some straight talk with y'all, but that's where my 2 cents is.
Awesome. Love it. Love Brandon. Welcome again. Love your enthusiasm. It's infectious. I think everyone here will agree with that. And Earl, love that. I oftentimes find myself giving the same exact advice, right? It gives a good understanding of the platform and the capabilities of the platform. And then from there, you can start specializing if you'd like to help your customers best. So we had a couple of questions that came in. So Adriana had a question that was, what strategies do you recommend for collecting customer feedback to improve customer success and address any challenges?
Well, I'll say I hate surveys. And I think that everyone inside Salesforce, again, straight talk, and this is technically on the record. I'm being recorded and it's like in a public forum. So I may be in trouble after this, Geralyn, but I'm going to blame Nava in the end. So, but what we do now is we've been sending out surveys. They're actually harmless, right? It's 3 questions. Like, what was the effectiveness of your engagement with your TAM or your success manager? Did you achieve your outcomes? And do you have any feedback? So they're fairly straightforward. This is what we do today. When we ever have an engagement, it could be anything about talking about Sales Cloud opportunities, or Brandon went and talked about MuleSoft and they had a point-to-point integration and he showed them some best practices. You get a survey. Other than that, the old school way is what we do is have quarterly business reviews. Quarterly success reviews are called by many names, but the point is that every few months you sync with your customer in a formal setting where you say, look, here's everything we've accomplished. Here's everything on your roadmap we want to accomplish. And most importantly, how are we doing? And then we get that feedback. So those are something that we've been doing here at Salesforce since I joined 8 years ago. And I think since time immemorial, from Oracle in the 80s, they probably had QBRs back then, right? So that is, at least for me, the preferred way to get the feedback is when we have those quarterly or monthly syncs, because I always want feedback. How can I do it better? What am I missing? What am I not seeing, Mr. Customer? But we do surveys now if you're curious of what Salesforce's approach is currently.
Yeah, thanks, Earl. Charles, Dave, and I were actually laughing before the session started about voice of customer, right? All jokes aside, though, that's one great way I know on the customer success side that we receive that feedback for our customers on product and different features that they might like to see in our product. And we kind of follow through that way with our product teams to hopefully make our product more tailored toward our customers. But one of the ways that we definitely receive feedback. So wanted to see, did anyone else want to add anything before we go on? We have a couple more questions from the audience.
Earl was 100% accurate on the Salesforce way of doing that. And also to add on, just from an IC perspective, I'm an individual contributor. So I do the Salesforce way and pepper in my own stuff. On every cadence call that I have with my customers, I legitimately ask 2 questions. Was this call valuable? And was it a waste of time? Literally, with those 2 questions, you get a lot of information to either tailor the next engagement to be a little bit better, or to pretty much just have a level set time or kind of a reset with the customer saying, you know what, you want to do A, B, and C. I'm clearly doing X, Y, and Z. We need to meet in the middle and get more realigned. I know sometimes here internally, some folks don't ask for feedback because they think they're doing everything the right way. But another way, really just in the moment, I'm a millennial, so millennial moment, just literally ask the customer, is this a valuable call for you? And you'll be surprised with that sometimes silence. They'll be very serious because they just want to know, well, thank you, Earl, for asking me. And honestly, this is what I thought of this. And you can kind of take that internally and get way better at your engagements or just the calls in general. I ask that a lot because I want to know if I'm just doing terrible.
Thanks, Brandon. Okay, so we're going to go on to a question from Portia. She asks, what types of questions do you ask customers to drill down or get to the root of the issues that they might be experiencing?
I think I'll take a stab at that. I think in order to ask that type of question, you really have to build a rapport and a relationship with your client. If you come at me as a client with those questions, there was somebody newer in the CSG group asking me those questions, and it was our first call. I kind of hesitated. Now, the account manager I've known for many years, and now he has demonstrated his knowledge of our business. So you have to learn how to build trust and connect with your customer before you can ask those intimate questions. And Earl, you know what I'm talking about, right? If you as a vendor, right? As a client, you have multiple vendors. You have a technology stack. For those of you that don't know, in the enterprise world, any company, a Hilton, for example, we don't just have one technology in the technology stack. Salesforce is part of this technology stack they've had to do their global business, right? If every vendor came and asked the client that question, client's like, I have problems to solve. I don't have time for this discussion. So you need to build an engagement model where you get to know the client and build that trust. So you can ask those questions and you'll get a real answer from your customer. And I'm sure, Earl, we can talk about all the CSG training that we did, right? To better understand, hey, our client's time, like Brandon mentioned, is extremely valuable. Make sure the time that you do spend with your client, that you do engage and listen and understand what their business is, so then you can ask that question and they'll know that you're being thoughtful and really do care. Not, hey, I want to put this product of mine in front of you. That's why I'm asking this question, because we see through it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say Elio though, but it's also a function of people that jump to the technical too quick.
Right.
And of course, I'm gonna come from a different land, the consult business side. It's more, from my point of view, it's more about saying, what's your business challenge? What are you trying to accomplish? I'm not talking about Salesforce. I'm not talking about Marketing Cloud. That's like step 8, right? I want to know, what is your business challenge? What keeps you up at night?
Yep.
What are we trying to accomplish? And if there does happen to be a very specific technical challenge, then I keep my mouth shut and say, hey, Charles, can you help me? Because I'll kick it over to someone slightly more technical. But in general, I want to know, what are they trying to, remember, they didn't buy software because they want to play with, you said the shiny new object, I think Elio was your term. They didn't buy it to play with it. They bought it for a business purpose. So for me, it's, what is your business objective? What is your business priority? What keeps you up at night? And in this particular instant, what are you trying to accomplish? And if it is technical, that's perfectly acceptable. I partner with folks like Charles, and then we figure out how to resolve it. So I don't know if Charles, I guess a good baton to hand.
Yeah, and that goes back to the whole collaboration piece. I mean, that's why it's important that, the success managers and the TAMs are talking all the time, because between the two of them, they have a really good handle on everything about the customer. And, they're talking with the customer all the time between the two of us. I talk to my customers at least once every 2 weeks in a formalized setting, sometimes more often if there's issues popping up. But having that absolute collaboration, and then the collaboration with the account team, so that you have that one team front, so that you can really work with a customer and answer anything, because the account executive may know things because they may have been on the account for 5 or 6 years, where I may have been on the account for a couple months. So definitely having that collaboration. Brandon?
Earl, I love one thing that you mentioned. It kind of reminded me of what I used to ask, what I sometimes still ask customers, honestly, when I don't really know what their business does, because I'm very interested. How do you make money, and what's keeping you from making more of it? You will be shocked. Customers that will, you know what? This isn't actually recording here. This isn't an automated process. Well, this is only a 30-minute call, so can you summarize that? That's kind of the next thing that I say, but it's very much, how do you all make money? Everyone loves to answer that, because you're talking about themselves and they're talking about their baby, aka their business. So that's a great way to kind of bridge that. And as Elio said, build that rapport, because you're coming at it more as I just need to know that I'm trying to build a relationship. Salesforce aside, what do you all do? And they will definitely start telling more and make get a little laugh out of it.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. So we're going to try and sneak one more question in before the final question for the evening. I can't believe how quickly the time has gone by. So we received a question here from Darren. So thank you, Darren, for being here tonight with us. He said thank you to everyone, but thank you. If this is a new topic today, how is a success architect different than a CSM at Salesforce? Would anyone like to tackle that question?
That could be a very ambiguous title. So, I mean, we have you guys can all correct me, but you could be in the professional services group. So that's really the good old fashioned consulting, billable by project or billable by hour. And then you'll have a technical architect and a business architect, both of them together. So when, and they come up with the design, right? So then you have the different folks on that pro serve team. So there are also our specialists, and now Jenny might be able to help out, or Tapas may be able to help out better with the new role, all the different roles that we have. But then we have specialists that are architects that help resolve specific challenges. And so they really fall in those two buckets, I believe. I don't know, Tapas, I'm getting some head shakes, so I'll let you answer.
Oh man, I actually don't know if I'm the best person to answer this question because I haven't worked on success architects before. I do know that there's a pretty distinct difference between TAMs and the success architects. I think they're more hands-on than the TAMs are. I see Brandon nodding his head, so I'm going to kick it to Brandon.
Again, you all, I do talk a lot, so I apologize. But this is a great question because it's in my realm.
Yes.
And quick shout out, Emily Meyerly. I do see you. Thank you. You're amazing. She's my Hire for Heroes mentee. So there is a difference. I am a technical account manager. So my role, while it is technical, I'm more of also a plugger of trying to get folks involved with the customer. So Darren, your question, what's kind of the difference between a success architect and maybe a CSM or a TAM? The success architects, they are not married to the customer's account. They are very much on an engagement by engagement session type of, that's kind of like how they work. And also as well, this is probably way more information than you need. An SA, the success architects only sort of help our signature customers. On the MuleSoft side, that is. Earl's side, it could be a little bit different, but that's really how it is on my side. So with that, say you're a customer and I'm your TAM and you're wanting to upgrade to Cloud Hub 2.0, which is the newest version of Cloud Hub from MuleSoft. Yes, I can walk you through certain aspects of that. I can introduce you and your team to why you would want to move over. But say you actually have an architect question or an actual, hey, we're building this API. We don't think this looks right. That's where I can get a success architect to come in. They won't do a code review, but they will actually give somewhat technical advice and best practices on, well, maybe for this API, you should probably change the way it's designed, or maybe that should plug into a different database or something of the sort. Whereas me as the TAM, all I did was get that success architect and tell them what the issue is, and I can make sure that the strategy is still being implemented from the actual SM side. So the architect gave you the technical info. I'm here making sure that that info is being followed up on, and there are no other burning questions. If the next question is, what's the difference between a TAM and a CSM? Maybe ask me that in February, right, Earl?
Thanks a lot, Brandon.
Yeah.
Really helps.
Hey, Darren, and not to muddy the waters, I was there, I think, probably the longest out of all the Salesforce folks here. Yeah, every fiscal year, Salesforce does this beautiful thing of realignment. And I think I had, for the technical management role that I did a combination of Earl and Brandon role for the 10 years there, and they changed our title constantly. So some years you were a specialist, some years you were a technologist, some years you were a cloud architect. So it varies. It all depends on what is it that you're trying, where are you in your career, right? And if you want to branch to technical and or business, that's the way that you might probably want to look at the growth of that role. I could not do the business engagement that Earl does. He's constantly with the C-suite of our client or of the clients, where some of us are more, yeah, we understand that business, but we're aligned to a technology branch. So we kind of walk both fences. And then, yeah, that's where I started the comment, not to muddy the waters, but it's really, you got to look at your passion. What is it that you enjoy doing? And then you can talk to the different folks to find out, oh, I can apply to different roles in different groups. I'm not limited to, oh, I just an architect or I'm this part. You can do both if you wanted to, really.
Yeah, I think
Thanks,
the only
everyone. That
thing-
really helps.
that we can really agree on is that change is constant, right? No matter where you are, what you do, there's always going to be change. So I know we are just at time. I'd love to get, if our panelists can hold on for just this one last question, just a quick 30 seconds. What is one piece of advice that you'd like to give transitioning service members, military spouses, veterans, and allies who are interested in pursuing a career in customer success? Charles, first up.
Always be learning. Jump in, learn, talk to people in the customer success arena. You know, I'm happy to talk with you. Brandon's happy to talk. Any of us are happy to talk with you anytime. We'll kind of walk you through what we do, how to kind of get into it. Other companies, other companies that have customer success roles, absolutely reach out to them, but dive in and learn. Get into Trailhead, go onto YouTube. Tons of resources out there. Just get in and learn, and that's gonna help you get you there.
Awesome, thank you.
I was going to say, rely on your strengths that you bring to the field before you start to pick up the technology. As you're learning the technical components of the role that you want to gain, we bring a lot. I was in artillery. I always tell everybody I was in a 155 artillery battery, furthest from technology, right? These things were built in the 50s or 40s. But guess what? I had a lot of soft skills that are needed, like Earl mentioned, the discipline in IT. Hey, I can make this project work even if we're not getting everything done. We're still moving forward. So rely on your soft skills while you build your technical skills, if you're going to head out in that route.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Geralyn, is network some more. And then when you're tired of networking, get your admin cert. Prove that you know the technology basics. You don't got to prove you're an administrator. Like I said, don't let that title scare you away, but network. And definitely it never is going to hurt. Like whether you use Trailheads or whatnot, you have to show you know the technology if you want to be working for Salesforce or the company itself. And good luck. And we're here to help. So do my first advice, network, reach out.
Tapas.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what Charles, Elio, and Earl said, but I'm going to tag onto that. Find a mentor, right? Find someone that you can learn from, that you can shadow, that you can tag along with, that you can bounce ideas off of. I think that's going to be such a huge accelerator to your always be learning career trajectory. When you're networking out there, it all kind of rolls back up into finding that one person that can help guide you along. Think of them as your trail guide almost, as you're kind of embarking on trailheads, right? It's that person that can help guide you and point you in the right direction. I think that's often an overlooked aspect of getting started in any new career or industry.
Awesome. Brandon, you want to go next?
Sure. I know everyone said it. Definitely the network. That's the biggest piece of it. Salesforce is a networking company, inside and outside. So the better off you get doing that, it's going to make everything way easier. Another thing, I always use analogies and metaphors for stuff. It's just how I talk. I'm a big fan of the phrase. I don't know if I made it up, but I heard it from somewhere. Like water, be fluid. Just really know how to pivot. If something doesn't go the right way, or say Darren's going to pick on you because you asked the question. If maybe you want to be a success architect, but that role isn't working out for you, adjust. Be fluid. Choose something different until you can get in that org. I applied probably 4 times for Salesforce without getting anywhere. I think I got 1 interview, and they reached out to me when I was at Zoom, and I honestly thought it was a joke. I told the recruiter, is this a sick joke because I'm not in the mood for it? It wasn't. So here we are. Maybe don't do that. That's my other advice. Don't think that people are playing games with you on LinkedIn. Actually be nice. And definitely with the networking and study. I come from a banking and politics industry, so I did not even know I could do something like this. Just be open to learning and know that sometimes you're not going to be the smartest person in the room, but you should be in that room.
Awesome. Jenny, you want to close us out?
Sure. Yeah. So definitely, kind of to Brandon's point, definitely cast a wide net. I think we say on our career site to only apply to like 3 jobs every so often. you can apply to a few more. No one's going to come after you. Like, yeah, cast a wide net. Also, just tip on like resume, tailoring your resume to the job description too. Like looking at the bullet points in the job description, mimicking that in your resume to show also that you know exactly what role you're applying to, and tailoring it to that role will also go a long way for Tapas and I, who are going through all these resumes and trying to find the perfect candidate. So.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I know we went a little bit over, but before we close out, I'd like to thank Elio, Tapas, Charles, Earl, Brandon, Jenny. I know Alcione could not make it, but I know he wanted to, for co-hosting tonight's session. It's been so awesome having you here and getting your perspective on the topics we discussed. So with that, thank you so much for attending. I hope to see you all at our next session, and have a great rest of your Wednesday evening. Thank you.